Ballade number 3.
Okay, Ted, let's talk about it a little bit, yes? There are several things that should be clearly defined, and that's this movement which starts from here. These 4 bars have to really belong, you see? And what you do, you make a break between the forte and the piano, which shouldn't be, so actually it's... And hold the pedal until the second beat. That's the idea, you see? So it really keeps going, and then you can do that. But if you wait, that has no sense, just alone. You see? Try. No, hold the pedal
for the
till the
first beat.
Till here. Yeah, now start at the beginning. And there are 2 things at the beginning that you have to realize. This is not part of the melody. Because really your theme is this. This is held through the... You see? But that has to carry through. So, you have to play these octaves fast enough and play to the F so that this can continue. Yeah? Because if you do this, you see, the bass just doesn't go.
What's your secret?
I'll tell you what it is. You take this, and then from here, jump there, and you lift your hand. No, just jump. Don't try to do this. Now, go to there. That's it. That's it. Okay, now try it.
Beginning?
From the beginning. More crescendo. No, don't hold that. Don't hold back. Goes to the E flat. See, your tempo there is too slow, and you don't go to the E flat. Wait. Go. simple in time. No, no, no. No, no. I'd advise you to. That you don't have it. Yeah? Try it. So you have. You see? Two. Fork. No, go to that. It goes to there.
And then
Yes.
finish.
You
Okay.
at the fork goes to there. In other words, this. Go to that seat. Also to this. Yes, go on.
Sorry.
Hold it. No, no, no. Hold it. Hold the pedal. Yes. Hold it until there. See how empty this sounds? Yes, there's nothing. And off the right hand too. Hold the pedal. You're so used to doing the other. To it. Don't get softer there. Look, like you did. Da-da. So he does. And you can fall. You'll have to practice to get that a little faster.
Thanks.
Yes, and there, it's wonderful. See, the first time you have, and here it's, and now it starts a new phrase. You see, this never stops, and you have these wonderful, almost it's a breathlessness. That from here, yes? Try it.
So I'll do it the first time.
Off. Hold it. Yes. No, your 60s is too lethargic. Is it still gas? See little size. Again, it's a new start. See, you don't have that. It's something new. It finishes here. Starts new. You see, just like you had it here, it's the same two bars. Yes, no different. And then you start new. There. That it's doing that it's going right over to there, yes? the thumb. Yes. That's all. And then you do it fast.
Okay. Sorry.
No, it's same 16th. Yeah. The fact that you have these 16ths in the left hand makes you not play it in time. It should be the same thing as you have all the way through. Yes, there you have yeah, try it, please. No, you see, you're not in time there. Quiet. No, it's positive. Yeah. No, don't wait. Teddy, it's this. Yeah, so you have. So go, Bobby. That has to be one line. Wonderful, beautiful circle. Beautiful circle. No accent.
That's a lot nicer when you do it.
Melodic. Don't wait. No, don't wait. Look, this does nothing yet until it goes to there. So this C is it's the same, you see. So you a nice, big, beautiful long line.
Sorry.
Don't wait. You want the music? Now you wait before, you see. You think
Nice
this
to wait up there.
Wait a minute. You think this part here is the highest point. It isn't. It goes to the downbeat. So, you fall. No, it goes to the then you fall. You make a diminuendo. Go right to it. That's too much. That's why you fall. You make too much here. Listen. Well, yeah. Tempo. Start with sound. No, remember, no retard here. No retard at the end of this thing here. So you keep going, yes? Doesn't matter. No, don't wait. Here. Sweetie, I call you, because you're my son, otherwise I wouldn't call you Sweetie. Listen, directly. You see, that, oh, it keeps going until there. You make this an end. Here, don't. Now, you have to understand, also the people who are listening, that everything that I am telling you is actually written out in the music. You see, all the forks, I call these forks, like the devil has a fork, you see, these are forks. They're all written in. So you have to express that, translate all these things that you see into an expression. Mm-hmm. So I'm not just telling you to do something out of the top of my head. I'm taking all things that are written in there, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, try it now. Wait, what you do here is you anticipate, consequently you take away the whole idea of when you have the accent here, you start louder and then you can't make the fork. They're two independent things, the right hand and the left, yes? Mm-hmm. Good. Go on. Or is that enough? Is that enough?
Yeah, I think that's super. Thank you. It was interesting to see a father-son, student-teacher relationship. I remember when I was a young kid and my father tried to teach me how to play golf and how frustrating it was for the two of us trying to swing golf clubs around the course, and it seemed every time I did it, it seemed it was never good enough for my father.
Well, it's interesting because when Teddy and I work together, we always have great fun, except when he actually was a student of mine. He had about 4 lessons in one season. We always found other activity. But when we did before that, when we worked, that's why he wanted to study with me. We worked beautifully together. Like today, we work beautifully together. So with the farther apart we are, the better it is in terms of music. But he's extremely gifted, always has been.
Your father aside, as a student, isn't it frustrating sometimes, though, when you try so hard and you can do it, but it just doesn't come out of the fingertips?
Well, I think the joy of studying with my father has been that he always demands so much more from the student than the student is able to give, that there's a constant growth pattern that goes on, and he lives his life that way too, I think. It's just, it's always the challenge that's presented, and I remember driving a student of his home after a lesson, and she was in tears, and she says, I can't do it, and I said, well, that's just the way he is. But you've improved. You've actually gone a step higher. If he would have just asked you to do what you're capable of doing, you wouldn't have grown.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Yeah, so many students come, you see, to me, and not too many have this feeling of what I'm going to say, because they come with the idea, most students go to study with the idea of learning what they know. It's very difficult for them to find out that they know little. Or that there's more to learn, you see. Right. Even though they want to do that, it's a frustrating thing for them. All things, I understand that of my students who do come to study, but I can't compromise with that. I have to at least give them the vision of something so that they can see what they have to work for. Mm-hmm. This can't be accomplished immediately, but at least the attitude of working has to be there now. It won't come in time. In time, the improvement happens, but not the accomplishment. But there's always some accomplishment that is more and more and more. The whole idea is it's like moving this way. You see, you never reach this point.
How about you? Have you reached that point?
No, I'm still going on. If I didn't have the challenge of music, which is so infinite, I wouldn't play anymore. The main thing with working for me is this thing that I have to work for. Mm-hmm. And actually, the older I get, my demands, or let's say not my demands, but the demands of the music become even more important for me. So that's the beauty of being a musician. If you can allow that to happen, and you can see more and more. See, I know if I didn't see anything more, again, I wouldn't play. But I'm always seeing something in the music that I didn't see before. In restudying a piece, even. I never play a piece that sort of goes. People like to, many people like to play, be able to play things at their sleep. Well, that's the most inactive state that one can possibly have, being asleep, you see. So this learning, this process of just playing, practicing, and repeating without reason, just you get it in your fingers. The mastery of the instrument is so important to most people, yet what the instrument is for, and that's to make music, demands much more than just the mastery of the instrument. The instrument, almost any typist can master that instrument, the playing of the fingers,
Right.
the playing.
Exactly.
But the making of sounds, the different directions that the sounds have, and the different intensities of sound, the different intensities of feeling, all things which are indicated somehow in the music if you know how to read it.
And one of the things you mentioned during the lesson, and I think you're trying to make that point again, is that it's all there on the page.
Yes.
Aren't there different interpretations, though, of music? Don't...
Well, the different interpretations, in my opinion, are only should be only the difference of degrees of expression. But there are certain things that are positive. Now, peculiarly, if let's say we have two artists, yes, who feel even the same things, who know the same things, it will never sound the same. Mm-hmm. Because the degrees of intensity, the degrees of tempi, the degrees of dynamics, these all are different. So the idea to be different than somebody else is not the goal. The idea is to get as close to what the music as possible.
How often do you walk out of a concert frustrated that someone has rewritten the music, so to speak, and not really played it as written?
That question, because that happens so often. But I have become really, in a way, tolerant of that, because I don't want to sound, how shall I say, conceited or put myself on some kind of a level where I shouldn't be. But you can't blame someone for what they don't know. So I am less, as I get older, less disturbed by performances which don't quite fulfill the things I know that ought to happen. Yes?
When were you first introduced to a piano?
My first interest in piano?
When were you first introduced? When did someone first sit you in front of a piano and tell you to blink away?
That came about when I was 4. I sang before that I sang all the popular songs of the day. My father and mother taught me those things, and I sang in vaudeville, actually. Mother sat in the pit, and I was on the stage singing all these popular songs. I learned them at home just by rote. I had a big voice, as a kid. Very
Hasn't
funny.
changed.
And my mother took me to the Chicago Musical College. I lived in Chicago then. And Flo Ziegfeld Sr., the father of the famous Flo Ziegfeld, was the president of the college. Chicago Musical College, and we came into the studio, and he thought my mother was going to sing, but she said no, I was going to sing, so he sort of laughed a little bit and thought about it, but then he heard me sing and advised my mother very well, said I should study an instrument first before I take up voice. So the idea was that I should study voice with somebody. And that's actually what we did. Thought the piano was the best one, and that's how I took to it immediately. And when I was 6, I gave my first concert.
Ted, how about you? When were you first introduced? You were probably in diapers, no?
You're close. I remember, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think I was about 2.5 when I was sitting at the piano playing by ear music that I had grown up for the first 2.5 years of my life hearing. One of them that comes to mind is the Schubert B-flat Sonata, Opus Posthumous, which I played in thirds with 2 fingers, maybe even with 2 hands in thirds. I probably couldn't stretch that much, and one of the greatest thrills of my life was when my father would come behind me and play on each side of me the big chords of the piece while I was there with the little two fingers. But I didn't begin studying formally until I was about 6.5 or 7.
Which is too bad, because I think that if he had started earlier, it would have stuck with him more, because he's a tremendous talent, this boy. But he, with 7 or 8, you have other interests already, and he was in school. But he actually sat at the piano before he was able to do these things, and would imitate pieces that I played, not by playing the notes, but with the actions.
Oh, really?
He'd sit down and play anything, you see, but the actions would be there for a whole long phrase, for a whole page of music, you see. He took my physical actions and imitated them on the piano.
I think the interesting difference between the two of us is that I believe very strongly with him, knowing his parents and his background, that his gift was God-given. Mine, I think, was put into my blood through having grown up with it. And even though my profession has changed now, I still love to play and do any opportunity I can. I do it for love, and mainly I play pieces that he plays because those are the ones I grew up with and that I love. But I could never make a career of playing pieces that you know, that he is known for playing, because that's I needed to learn other literature and things.
He never wanted to do that.
Never wanted to.
Always wanted to do the things that I play.
Ted, you said your profession has changed. Let's talk about that a little bit.
By a series of accidents, I became interested in arts administration. It started right here on Nantucket as the social director, shall we say, of the Chamber Music on Nantucket Festival that my father was the artistic director of several years back. And the dean became very ill, and the board of directors asked me to, well, actually, my father was on tour in the Soviet Union, and I took over because he wasn't coming back until after about a week after the school started. And they needed a place, the students needed places to stay, and they needed to get their rehearsal places organized, and so I kind of haphazardly took over the school, eventually became the administrative director of the school, which posed some interesting problems for father-son director relationship. I remember once saying to him that you've hired me to do this job now. I'm not going to be your son. I have to be the director, and you have to understand what I'm going to do.
How old were you then?
19 or something. That was a difficult line to say.
But he showed that. He had that talent right away. I mean, it was just beautiful the way he managed it. The students said that they never were anywhere that was so well organized as the school.
Well, I enjoyed it.
Something. He did that.
It then led to my being the president of the student body at New England Conservatory, which is where I...
That was a time when he should have studied with me.
Longer, sometimes less. You never know. They surprise you at the worst possible moment. So you finally made a decision then, or you were in the process at this point of making a decision that maybe you didn't want to follow specifically in your father's footsteps.
Well, after I started with the chamber music school here on Nantucket, and I became the president of the student body at the conservatory, and as my father says, that's when I should have been practicing and studying with him, I decided that there was something wrong, and that I took a year off from school. And my objective in taking that year off was to practice and to study privately at home with my father. However, I moved out of the house so that I would have this distance from him and he wouldn't hear me practicing every day. I got 2 jobs, one of which was with the Boston Symphony as a telephone operator. And I worked for the Boston Symphony for 3 years. went back to school, finished my degree at the conservatory, but then at the end of those 3 years I had worked at the Boston Symphony and volunteered in every aspect of what goes on there, from their TV radio marathon to security at the stage door, helping with artist transportation, anything I could do. The manager of the symphony came to me and said, "You've shown a great interest in this. I'd like you to investigate the American Symphony Orchestra League's Management Fellowship Program." They choose 8 people in a year, and they were over 1,200 people that were interested in the program that year. And the 8 of us went around to different orchestras in the country as interns with the managers of these orchestras.
Well, actually, weren't there about 30 finalists or 30 something?
Well, it was, yeah.
You were finally picked as one of the 8.
Yeah, there were
out of 1,200. That's quite good.
It was an intense process, but it was fun because we had stages, and the finals were held at Avery Fisher Hall in New York, and there were 38 of us sitting there, all in the same room, going for our individual interviews with this panel of 3 or 4 people, and it lasted all day, and it was after several months of the interview process. There are different stages. Well, after I went to the St. Louis, New Mexico, and Cincinnati symphonies, and traveled all over the country, got to see the world a little bit, took each of the orchestras on tour, so I really saw parts of the country I'd never seen before. Became very, very excited and interested in orchestra management specifically, and following the program, I was asked to be the assistant manager in the Savannah Symphony, and after only 10 months there, I was called from the Greensboro Symphony Search Committee to interview for general manager, and I've beginning my 3rd season. We've just hired a new music director, and the theme for our new season is Soaring to New Heights, which is very appropriate for all the changes that are going on there. And I've bought my first home, and I'm very excited about settling there for a good while anyway, as long as the challenges are still there and there's growth potential.
And this is down in North Carolina.
Down in North Carolina. They're trying to make a southern boy out of me. We were discussing once at a party how you call someone who lives in Greensboro. Our conductor's from Boca Raton, and they call them Boca Ratonians, and he had lived in Rochester, and they call them Rochestonians. So I was saying, is it a Greensboronian or Greensborian? And finally it came to me that you just call them good old boys.
All right. Well, it seems to be then you've gained a good old boy. Have you lost a son?
Oh, well, no. We're on the phone constantly. And, of course, he has so many things to tell me about his accomplishments. And I told him, I said, please write them down. I want to tell them to your mother, you know. I mean, I can't remember all these things. She has marvelous ideas. And the wonderful thing about the combination, which exists probably not at all in the country, is that he's a musician as well as a good businessman.
I remember earlier, though, you said that, and he said, well, I'm a manager, and then I'm a musician.
That's what he said, yes. But it's really true. It's fantastic how, because, you see, most managers are business people, just pure business people. But he's a marvelous organizer and has many ideas and many musical ideas. So the combination of both is marvelous in that field, is we need people like that. And I have a feeling, maybe I shouldn't say it, but I think other people feel the same way, that in some few years, he'll be managing one of the big orchestras in the country, because he's growing. So, and he's in demand by Orchestra Managers Association.
Well,
He gave him 2 speeches at the conventions now, because of things he's done.
I think the more important thing to talk about is the difference in our relationship as we've gone through this process. When I was trying to struggle through college and be a pianist and be a son and everything, it was very difficult.
That's when I said to you, Ted, it's more important that I'm your father. Think of me as your father, not as your teacher. Go back to your old teacher, and we'll get along beautifully.
Okay.
During that time, it was very difficult for me to be close to my father, because all the emotions were
During
poured.
the time you studied.
Right. All the emotions were poured out at the piano, and I felt a real block in terms of our father-son relationship, which was hurting me a great deal, because I didn't want it to be that way, but there was something there that was preventing us. And then as soon as I made the decision, and I decided I'm going in my own direction, I have a goal. I'll never forget the dinner, which we sat for 3 hours over dinner one night with my mom and dad and talked about the change in my life. And ever since then, we've been closer than ever. Emotionally, it's where it should be, and I think it's because I love music. I love to play. I live to hear my father play. I don't care what other people say. I think he's the greatest pianist that's alive today, and I don't say that because he's my father. I put on my music hat, and so I'll be a little conceited for you, but I'm very close to him, and I come up whenever I can to wherever he plays. And hear him play, and I demand that there are tapes of the concerts that I get, so I'm able to have him close to me while I'm in Greensboro. So we have a very good relationship.
Very good. Yeah.
Leonard.
Very beautiful. We fished well together, too.
That's important. Leonard, a couple years ago, you went through a pretty traumatic time. You had what is referred to as a trigger finger.
Yes. And,
tell us about that.
Actually, it was a simple thing. It wasn't quite as complicated as it turned out to be, but some things weren't done quite right at the beginning, and I've traveled all around the country practically trying to find someone who understood my problem. I knew what the problem was.
Explain it for us, if you will.
Well, the problem became very serious because all the sheaths of the tendon, the third finger, was taken away. It was cut out. Why that was done, I don't know, or how it happened. I'm not going to sit and blame doctors for anything like that, but I couldn't find anyone who really could understand it because my hand sort of became deformed. I couldn't play at all, finally, and I had no stretch between the fingers, and you could see all kinds of nodes sticking up here and there. Mm-hmm. Actually, what happened was that the only doctor I found was Peter Linden. Well, how did I find him? Socially, because one of the very lovely persons here, Mrs. Feder, he was a husband of one of her nieces. And she said he was famous as a hand surgeon, which I later found out that was true, and he had done some remarkable work in England. And I mean, besides being a hand surgeon, he also is a plastic surgeon, you see. So I asked him why he did that when he was such a genius at hand. But he said, I like to see people happy too, you know, mm-hmm. not just to have troubles. So, but his great genius is what he does with the hands. He was the only one who really understood what was happening in my hand. It had to be rebuilt, actually, the whole palm in 4 places. He had to cut all 4 places together to rebuild that.
That must have been terrifying, though, going in and holding your hand out to someone.
Me because I believed in him, you see, because I knew what he was talking about, and he knew what he was. The other doctors would say, well, I can clean it up a little bit, but I can't guarantee anything. But he didn't guarantee anything, but he knew what to clean up and what to do, which was, to me, the thing. And luckily, he has a place in Nantucket and comes here, and we live here now, so we sort of got together on this, and he's been wonderful. Of course, I had 3 operations. The second one was very wonderful. He did a marvelous job. I did something wrong. My car got stuck in the sand, my little Subaru that I had at that time. And not on the beach, but in one of those roads. And like a fool, I didn't check the tires. You know, I immediately put it in forward, tried to put it in four-wheel drive, and it wouldn't go. And I started pulling back and forth. And what I did was rip the stitches. This was just about 3 months after I had the operation.
So
and then that whole year I had problems. And then later I had to have another operation.
You know, I hate to say this, but we're running out of time. I used to take piano and I gave up. I'll admit it. I want you to put in some encouraging words for someone out there that might be taking piano to continue to keep going, or in any of the arts.